I now want to welcome back the first recurring guest, Mikey Domagala, also Inside Buzz. What's up, Mikey?
What's up, man? It's a pleasure to be back on the Most Dope podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am repping a Mac Miller sweatshirt right now. So
you're repping Mac. I'm repping the Inside Buzz shirt and
right.
the banner behind me.
You're definitely more official than I am with all this apparel and background. I'm in my parents' house right now. So
good. I'm also in my parents' house, believe it or not.
There you go. Very good. All right. Well, first off, I feel we talked a little bit before the show about I feel like your Inside Buzz has been popping off lately, and you just announced that you're starting a podcast. I saw that. I saw a new Instagram handle for that. So tell the people about that.
Yeah. So NBA Buzz on Instagram, Facebook, and Inside Buzz, my other podcast, has been popping off recently. It's been a lot of hard work, and it's been nice. And also, I am now the co-host of an ESPN podcast show. My co-host, Jermaine Barnes, called The Truth Podcast. And that will be on ESPN platforms, the ESPN CLT Podcast Network. And yeah, we're dropping the first episode December 1st. We have a lot of notable NBA legend guests coming on that we got set up with. Awesome. And I'm looking forward to it. We're going to start shooting in November. More content's coming out over the next coming days. So
do you have a sneak peek for the people? Maybe one guest?
It's called The Truth.
Okay.
So put that together.
He's been getting a lot of heat lately, by the way.
He has. And I'm hoping to talk about that heat that he's been getting. Paul Pierce potentially coming on. That one's not official, but he is rumored to be in the works. Paul Pierce coming on The Truth Podcast. I mean, that's just perfect.
Who is your co-host?
Jermaine Barnes. So he is a overseas professional basketball player. He plays in the German league right now. He's been an overseas player for over a decade now, and he worked with the Minnesota Timberwolves for a while in his off seasons as, I believe, a player development guy. Mm-hmm. And when he was doing all that stuff, he made connections in the NBA. He's originally from Atlanta, so he knows a lot of people in the Atlanta area and from the Timberwolves, and he made connections with an ESPN guy. We got recruited to this stuff. He picked me to be his co-host, and here we are, December 1st. We're going to drop.
That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. You freaking deserve it. You've been grinding since you were like 5 years old doing this crap, so you deserve this.
Thank you a lot. Yeah, since 2012, when I was 12.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the playoffs / the finals. I know I was trying to get you to do previews of the finals, but our schedules didn't connect. So it is in the middle of the finals. Game 4 is coming up tomorrow, but I haven't talked to you in a while. So a couple of things. Number one, what did you think about the playoffs?
Playoffs was a great time. The playoffs was so much better than the finals have been already. All those matchups, Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray, the Nuggets making those 3-1 comebacks, like crazy 2 times, making history. Also, the other storylines of, the OKC Thunder forcing Houston to a 7-game series, and every series in that like middle part of the playoffs was just exceptional. And it was just a pleasure to see. Basketball in the bubble was really, really good this year.
Sorry. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been in my parents' house in a while. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. I'll edit that.
So good.
Yeah. The OKC, Houston, the series, obviously the West was, like usual, better than the East. The East is trash in general. But yeah, the playoffs was super interesting. Every game seemed good. The thing is, and now we're seeing this a little bit in the finals, is that people start talking once a team wins one game versus the Lakers. And we saw that with Portland. They won game 1. Everyone's like, oh, and then, it happened to be their whole team got injured. So maybe something would have been different if not, like, obviously Damian Lillard didn't get injured. CJ McCollum's back was broken and all that. And then you got the Houston. They won game 1 and everyone was fired up about that. I never really believed in Houston, but then they played Denver, and Denver should have won game 2, but also won game 3. And then they started talking, that. And then they winning 5. It seems that this might be the case here, but before we get to that, but that just like that to me, like it was a story of the playoffs that everyone thought the Lakers were done after they lost one game, and then they they blew him out in 5 games. That was that. But to me, I think obviously the Clippers was a big story, but what people say I've seen this a lot on TV, that the Lakers didn't go through anybody. This is the easiest path they've ever had to get to the finals. I don't think that's true. I just don't think that's true. And I am not a LeBron James guy. Like, I am not some people love him. I feel like there's no middle. Like, I'm on the other side. I don't like him I don't know why. I think it started from Carmelo, LeBron. I was a Carmelo guy, LeBron. But then even then, I'm not a LeBron guy. But the guy cannot win. He went in the Eastern Conference. They say he can't beat anybody. Now he's in the West, and they say he has the easiest. So he can't win. But was it an easier path? No. Like, it wasn't. And for people to say the Nuggets were the easy, that was the Clippers were not. They lost to the Nuggets. They lost to the Nuggets. And Dallas gave them problems. A depleted Dallas gave them problems. So I think not an easy path. And they got a little lucky with Damian Lillard. But that happened also with Toronto won last year. There were a lot of injuries. Golden State beat the Cavaliers, a lot of injuries. No one really talks about that. It wasn't easy. They played well. And people were giving them a lot of crap in the beginning of the 8 or the seeding games. Like, oh, they look terrible. All of a sudden they look good in the playoffs when it meant to be. You got to give them credit. They're in the finals. And they played a lot of good teams.
Yeah. I agree that maybe it wasn't that easy, but I also disagree because everybody wanted to see the Kawhi versus LeBron matchup between the Lakers and the Clippers. Everybody wanted to see it. And in my opinion, I would think the Clippers would give the Lakers more of a problem than the Nuggets did. The Nuggets, they played great against the Lakers. They gave them a fight. They were
every game was close except for the first one.
What's that?
Every game was close except for the first game.
Yes, exactly. They were an Anthony Davis game-winning shot away from it being a very close series. It's heartbreaking.
Idiot.
Very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I just feel like LeBron is getting that crap about it being so easy because the Clippers weren't that team to go through. Give credit to Denver. They smacked the Clippers. The Clippers looked horrible against them.
Right. And you'd think that LeBron, you could say that maybe the Clippers would have elevated their game. But first of all, Paul George has never elevated his game in the playoffs. And listen, the Clippers weren't good. They were good, but they just didn't have it. They didn't have it this year. And for everyone that are freaking out, that's ridiculous because the Heat didn't win the first time the Big Three came about. A lot of teams don't win their first year. Give it some time. They'll be good next year. They'll be good in years to come.
I agree. Everybody's starting to write them off. And it's like, it's one season. People lose.
I think Doc Rivers doesn't get enough crap for just not winning big playoff games. I think he's still riding high from that Celtics. Think about it. That era with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, they just never got out of the second round, which seems absurd. They also blew a 3-1 lead another one. He's been a part of that. That is adjustments. That's in the coach's bag. You have to make adjustments in the playoffs. And I think, they fired him and he got a job 5 seconds later. But I think a story that I want to talk to you about that is very under the radar is the Paul George, Doc Rivers relationship. I don't think he could get out of Paul George what he wanted to, or Paul George could ever have a good relationship, because basketball is one thing, but then when you're a man and especially a father, and especially a father of a girl, when you're more protective over your daughters, he did Doc Rivers' daughter dirty. He cheated on her and impregnated a stripper. So no one really talks about that, but that for sure could have just hindered a relationship for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you took the words out of my mouth on that one. And not even that. Paul George made the guy lose his job because of probably his relationship with PG in that way off the court than how PG did on the court. If PG had a better couple of games, he might have saved Doc's job. And PG messing up and kind of becoming pandemic George instead of playoff George really kind of messed Doc up. And
Paul George has screwed over both two Rivers very quickly. Doc lost his job in LA because of him, and his I don't know. Were they married or just dating at the time? I don't even know.
I think he's dating, but still.
I mean, listen, that's not good either. But yeah, so he's not in the good graces of the Rivers house, I'm assuming. And you saw, by the way, Seth Curry mouthing things to him the whole time, who is now married to Doc's daughter. But I think that's a very underrated story. He's your second best player. You want to get a lot out of him, but you probably can never have a really fully good relationship because he cheated on your daughter and probably made her very upset. On the other side, the Eastern Conference was interesting because I picked the Celtics to come out, and I held by that. And it's very interesting that they didn't, because the Heat are a very fun team. And again, the Lakers are going to get ripped on because there's just a bunch of injuries. But I think a story that is just not talked about enough is Kendrick Nunn. This guy was all NBA first team. What the hell happened?
Yeah, I've been thinking that with myself too. I think the Heat have been playing more efficiently under Goran Dragic, and that's why Coach Spoelstra went to him towards the end of the year into the playoffs. If you watch Kendrick Nunn's game, he's a very like Allen Iverson type player where it's like he's just going to get buckets. He's not really trying to find the open man or spread the ball out.
That's a Walmart version of Allen Iverson, but yeah.
Yes, I was going to say I'm not comparing him in that way to Iverson, but more of his play style. He's just trying to get buckets. And I think that's not necessarily the recipe for winning in the playoffs. Nunn's been pretty good in the minutes that he's put in the finals at least. But before that, he really wasn't utilized at all in the playoffs, playing a couple minutes here and there. And I was surprised of it. So I agree. That is a pretty, right.
And you'd think now that Dragic's injured, like maybe he would show up a little more, but he hasn't really shown up at all. I mean, the first game, his numbers look good because he was, they were down by like a lot, but game 2, game 3, not very much. Again, the Heat were awesome in the playoffs. I mean, they blew by the bad pacer. I mean, they basically blew by everybody until the Celtics were somewhat of a game. But again, they had a huge lead, a 3-1 lead, and the Celtics got, but they won in 6, and it just never seemed like the Celtics had control of it. And I can't put my finger on what it is. I mean, Bam is tough. He can guard 1 through 5. Jimmy is tough. He can basically guard 1 through 4, I would say. And they have just a bunch of guys who just fill the role, which I think is just so that is the key to anything in an NBA. If you don't have the talent, it's just everybody knows the roles.
Yeah, you need the diversity of players playing each position, like you were saying, and being able to guard. But with Boston, I think their problem is you can't be running Enes Kanter, who almost gets no minutes, or a Grant Williams, who's a rookie power forward who just rebounds and plays defense at the center. You need a well-rounded center, and I think they should 100% go for a healthy DeMarcus Cousins in the offseason and try to sign him. Because, yes, maybe he's out. He's, not down and out, but he's getting a little older, injury after injury. He needs some confidence, and he needs a team like Danny Ainge and the Celtics to go to him and say, DMC, we need you to be the DeMarcus Cousins of the Kings and the Pelicans because we want to win a championship. We'll pay you a little bit, but if you produce for us, you'll really get paid after a 1-year deal or something like that if he shows up.
Yeah, he's not getting more than 1-year deal anywhere, so.
Yeah, exactly. So he needs to take what's coming to him, if anything is, and I think the Celtics should really reach out to him because why not?
Right.
What's really – there's nothing to lose on the Celtics.
Who's also a free agent is Dwight Howard, by the way.
Yeah, I could see him re-signing with the Lakers, so I feel like he loves it there, and he was there back in the early 2010s. I'm sure, he just likes being back, has a house there and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Hal Horford left for Philly, which was a weird move, but they paid him a lot, and I guess it was good that they didn't pay them at the Celtics because he seems a step slower than he once was. Yeah. You're right. The big center, just a shot blocker, guy in the paint.
A scorer, because that's kind of what they need, some interior scoring. They got Tice, who could, get a dunk or two here and there, lay it up.
So much more. They got Kemba, they got Jason, they got, what's his name, Jaylen Brown. They got so many players that could put the ball in the basket. They just need a guy who can just rebound. And, yeah, that's a good point. They do need a center, just a high percent. And the thing is, by the way, if anybody wants DeMarcus Cousins, you just have to give him a 2-year deal, and he'll sign with you.
He's for the taking right now. Just reach out to him, and he's coming.
Right. It's interesting. I wonder like what he'll be when he comes back, but we won't know until next year. And do you have any information on when like you have more like inside scoops somehow with your inside buzz? Did you hear anything about? I know I saw January when the NBA might come back.
No, I don't have any inside scoops of that. That's all just in the upper parts of the NBA people who discuss that. But I mean, what I've been seeing is sometime after January, and you got to think it's usually like a 3 or 4 month off season from the finals, and that's what it's going to have to be. It's October now, so expect at least until January.
Well, 3 or 4 months. For some people, it's been like almost a year already. Not a year, by a year, maybe January will be like not a year, but it'll be close to it.
Well, I mean about the usual schedule of what they usually give these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, but that'll be interesting to see that. But yeah. So again, if we talk about the finals now, like the Lakers are going to get dumped on even if they win for a couple of reasons. One, the bubble, they'll say blah, 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 bubble. And two, the Heat got injured. If Dragic and Bam come back, you think it's more legitimate, or like people are still going to say like they're out?
I think if they come back for Game 4, which I think Bam will. I just saw a report actually when I picked up my phone about 10 minutes ago that Dragic is probably out again for Game 4. I think with both of them down 2-1 for a Game 4, it would be a little bit more legitimate for LeBron not getting as much slander.
Because if we think about it as a normal series, the 2 games were in LA, and then you win Game 3 in Miami, which is not crazy. If you win Game 4 in Miami, that's not crazy.
Yeah. You got to give kudos to Jimmy Butler, man. He really carried them on his back last night.
That was nice. That was a great – it just shows you. But then it scares me because – not scares me. Like I'm going for the Heat because I think it's cool. Mm-hmm. But it scares me because I saw the Nuggets do the exact same thing. Jamal Murray dropped a huge Game 3, and everyone was like, oh, here come the Nuggets. Like, oh, they should have won Game 2. Look at them Game 3. Like, and as a Nuggets fan, I'm like, yeah, this is it. Let's go. And then it just we played well Game 4 and 5. We're all close. I have Game 5 already. Jamal Murray was injured. But Game 4 was close again. Like, Jimmy Butler cannot do that. It's not in his – like I said from the beginning, if he averaged over 20, obviously without the injuries, if he averaged over 20, they would have a very good chance of winning in 6. They would have a very good chance. But him to score 40, how many times has he scored 40 in his career? Probably, I don't even know.
Maybe 2 or 3 times.
Maybe, right.
He's usually pretty – not inconsistent. He just doesn't – he's usually more passive. He's more passive than he was last night.
Right. And
he knew he had to put the ball in the basket last night. Knew he didn't have Bam. Yes. And the thing about the Heat, which makes me nervous without Bam and Dragic, like Dragic is a good between the basket and 3-point line scorer, good mid-range scorer.
Yeah.
You didn't see that at all last night besides Jimmy Butler. All you saw was Olynyk, Duncan Robinson, and Tyler Hero just chucking threes. And that's not going to do it. Like you're going to die by the 3.
Again, they're going to win 1 game. I think the Lakers,
I agree with you.
Say this, but they're going to probably win in 5, and that's it. Like, I'm kind of like ready for this to be over in a sense that like the bubble needs to, like, I just want regular basketball fans back. But again, it might not happen. No one knows what's going to happen with the virus. We have no idea. So, you can't be like, no, take what you can get. But again, like, it just seems like we're just waiting for the inevitable to happen. Yes.
Yeah, no, I was kind of agree with you. Not that I want the season to be over, but it's almost like this season has just been dragging on for almost a year now.
Right.
Pretty much a year now. Almost exactly a year now. And it's like the never-ending season. We just need just the normalcy to go back, which is, like you said, is going to be tough for the world to do. Who knows what's going to happen? Right. And I don't know. I think the Lakers are going to take it in 5.
Yeah, it just seems like we've seen this story. Like a team wins 1, everyone gets excited, and then nothing else happens out of it. I saw this actually. Where did I see this? Bill Simmons was talking about it on his podcast with like Ryan Russillo, that what's it going to take for us not to give the MVP to LeBron James? Because LeBron's going for this legacy thing. He wants to be in the same talk as Jordan. But if he doesn't win a Finals MVP, that's a huge problem to his legacy talk. And if Anthony Davis wins it, they're going to be like, well, and that's sometimes what hurts Kobe is he didn't win 3 Finals MVP. Shaq did. He won 2, the last 2. But I don't know what's going to take for.
I think LeBron's in the lead right now for it.
Right, and I think he thinks
of last night.
Also. Right.
AD, what did he take? 4 shots? I mean, like, I know he was in foul trouble, but you can't be taking 4 shots in your 30 minutes on the floor when you're a top 5 player in the NBA, arguably.
Right.
And LeBron just, last night, all right, he had 8 turnovers, but he was pretty much doing the carrying for the Lakers.
But they lost. So sometimes people forget about on losing games. It's all about how they won on those games. Like we see, like it doesn't matter. If you lose and you play the best in the series, you're not going to win the MVP. There's that famous, like, where LeBron played out of his mind, but the Golden State Warriors won the finals, and they gave it to Andre Iguodala. But LeBron James clearly had the best final. They don't really care about the games you lost. It's more about who showed up the games win, and they're pretty much equal, which means they're absolutely giving it to LeBron James.
Yeah, in that case they will. I mean, AD did put up that 40 or whatever in game 1 or 2. Forget what game off the top of my head. I'm posting so much that I just forget. But, I mean, AD getting that 40 or whatever is because of LeBron. I mean, LeBron sets AD up. I know Rondo does too, but LeBron is the fuel to that engine, of that Lakers engine. And I think he gets the Finals MVP based on what's going to happen the next 2 games.
Do you think, like, it's known in Anthony Davis' head, like, I'm probably not going to win MVP. It's annoying, but I'll just wait. I think he legitimately thinks, like, I could be the best player on the team, but, like, they're going to give it to LeBron.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even think how their relationship is. I've been reading quotes from them and about them, how reporters report on them. It seems like they're pretty just, let's go win. If you score, whatever. If I score, whatever. Let's just go get the dub. And that's what it seems like. So I don't know if he's thinking that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting. And then, like, besides the finals, like, the little news was Doc Rivers going to Philly, which is fine. Nothing doesn't, like, move the needle for me. But another one was the Kyrie Irving comments saying on Kevin Durant's podcast, which, by the way, it's ridiculous how many athletes have podcasts. There's no room for
everyone.
It's not nice. It's not nice. You're already rich and famous. Just let me be. It's ridiculous. Anyway, you saying on the Kevin Durant podcast that he hasn't been next to a mother refer who can score, and now he is. And he thinks in his head, like, whoa, why would you assume LeBron James? This is why I've always thought Kyrie Irving is the worst teammate.
Yes. And
it's going to not do well. People think, like, Brooklyn, whoa, it's going to be scary. Kyrie Irving's going to piss off a lot of people there. And I'm sure it's not, I don't know Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving's relationship. They seem like best friends, blah, blah, blah. But everywhere he has gone, it has not been good.
Yeah, I think it will work because of Durant. I think Durant's going to overtake Kyrie and kind of tell him.
Kyrie's pissed, and he's going to get pissed. Kyrie was with LeBron James, who people say who's better, blah, blah, blah. I mean, Kevin Durant's better scorer. LeBron James is one of the better players. He was with a guy like that, and he couldn't handle it.
Well, I think he's going to have to handle it because Kyrie is just A-plus level Robin to a Batman. I mean, He fills the Robin role perfectly, other than pissing his teammates and people off. On the floor, he's very good supplementing what the Batman doesn't do, as he did with LeBron. And I think it's going to be the same thing with Kevin Durant. I mean, I think Kevin Durant's going to take not most of the shots, a good amount of the shots, and take the pressure of Brooklyn, and Kyrie will just be a half a step back. We saw Kyrie in Boston. We saw, him try to take over the Nets this year, and they just didn't do anything.
Every time Kyrie is by himself, he hasn't had a winning record.
Exactly.
The Celtics did better the year before he came back. I mean, it's just so – the proof is in the pudding. Sometimes it's like something is so obvious to even the fans who they think are idiots, like, but it's obvious. Like, he was a trouble in Cleveland. They had trouble with him. They won a championship. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he went to He went to, but there, you knew there was problems. He went to the Celtics. There were problems. And there's guys on the, I feel like, you know how they say like people on the Clippers, they don't like Paul George because, you know, they think they're just as good as him and he takes off. People are good in Brooklyn. Chris LeVert's very good. Spencer Dinwiddie has done nothing but be good. Like, I feel like those people get annoyed when, you know, superstars are out and they come in and think that they own the place when they have to do all the legwork on all this stuff.
Yeah, I would love to see. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie tweets about Kyrie a lot and that he's in support of him or whatever, but deep down, I don't think him and LeVert, obviously they're going to support their teammate, but I think deep down they don't like that. Like you said, he came in kicking everybody aside and saying, I'm the captain now. You know,
Spencer
like
Dinwiddie is right up there with like what my dream interviews would be. Because I just, first of all, I followed him since CU, but like, again, he's been so solid throughout. He had to deal with D'Angelo Russell also like getting injured, and then they just plop him in, and then Kyrie Irving gets injured, and then you're a starter again. Then you have to go back to where you are. Like, eventually he's probably going to want to be on a starting point guard or sixth man on a different team where it's not like, I don't know. I just, that Kyrie Irving comments just, to me, it's like, why are you shocked?
Not even that, just even
why you say that,
unravel the layers. Why even say it? Right. I mean, he always says how the media beats up on him and he's so like vulnerable to things and he's so misunderstood. Then why are you going on these shows and kind of stirring up crap? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
you want to hear what the athletes really think, but to me, and I do, and I think that's why everyone loves Charles Barkley, because what's on his brain comes out of his mouth. That's what people love about him. But he owns it. He's like, yeah, I said this, and he owns it. And he's even said like, I don't know, crazy political things that maybe he would get in trouble with, but he doesn't care because he owns what he says. Like, what he believes, that's what he says. For Kyrie Irving to say, fine, you could say Kevin Durant's a better scorer than LeBron James, just own it. That's all we want. We want you to say these things. We want you to be honest, but don't go back and play the victim, which I hate.
Yes, exactly.
Don't play the victim. Like, why are you guys putting us against each other? Yeah, we are. Even Kevin Durant, by the way, is good at that. Right. Kevin Durant never played the victim. He said things about Russell Westbrook. He's like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, I don't know. I also respect Kevin Durant for that. It's not the victim. I just don't like to say things and then don't own it. And that's all we want. We want, as fans, we want to know what's going on in the locker room. We want to know what's going on in your brain, but just own it. If you don't want to say it, don't say it. But if you do say it, at least own it. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, I'm trying to think of it, but the topic I wanted to talk about, I didn't write it down for some stupid reason.
Got to make notes, my man.
I know. Well, I was all there, but now I'll think about it later. Whatever. I can't even think about it. This is a good thing that's a podcast. I can edit it. But yeah.
You just cut whatever you want.
I know. Darn it. What did I want to talk to you about?
Was it a current topic?
I don't know. God dang it. I had something. I guess that's it, honestly. Oh, no, I just thought of it. Oh, right. Okay. The last thing I want to talk to you about is, before we go, just a quick preview of what I think, like what you think is going to happen in the offseason when it comes to the Houston Rockets, because the Houston Rockets are in big trouble. It seems like it didn't work. Mike D'Antoni's gone.
Yeah.
What the heck do you do with Russell Westbrook? I don't know, it was probably one of your posts probably because you're on everything. But it's crazy to see that we saw LeBron James in LeBron James' career. You saw Russell Westbrook go from the peak of his athleticism to the bottom of in LeBron James's career. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. He sucked in the playoffs. And again, people are like, oh, he's better. Yeah, obviously he's better than me, but he sucked in the playoffs. He can't shoot for beans. Like, what are they going to do? Maybe they bring in a different coach, different thing. But again, Russell Westbrook's not the same player. He can't just blow by people. And also James Harden needs the ball a lot. And James Harden is significantly better than Russell Westbrook. So what the hell do you think the Rockets do?
Well,
if you were the GM, go ahead.
The first problem, you never put Russell Westbrook and James Harden on the same team.
Correct.
After they both won their MVPs. Because they're different players than they were in their OKC days. Together now, they're both ball hungry, and they don't necessarily play that great together. Efficient basketball, they put up dumb shots. Another thing, You need a big man. They tried the small ball lineups with D'Antoni. It failed. It didn't do that bad. I did better than I thought it would be, but it still failed. And
again, OKC wasn't an amazing team, and they barely beat them.
They got by the skin of their teeth.
OKC's a very good season team. They're not such a good playoff team. I was hoping the Nuggets would play them.
And then D'Antoni getting fired. I think they got to bring in just a whole new fresh face. I got to give a shout out to my guy Rashad Phillips, who was on one of my Inside Buzz podcasts. He's an analyst, and he thinks the Rockets should go after Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups wants to become a head coach in the NBA. I mean, he might hear it because he doesn't have any experience like Nash did and other guys. But I think they need a player's coach who could, Harden and Russ could bounce off Billups and talk about his finals experience. Billups could be that voice coming from this legend to tell them, you guys got to knock it off and stop shooting the ball so much and really spread the floor and take your time on possessions. No James Harden step backs all the time and get good quality shots. And I think that's how the Rockets would win.
I know. It's interesting because you're asking James Harden to totally switch everything he's become. I do think that
he's good enough too. That's what I think. Like, people on NBA Buzz always criticize me for calling out Harden and being hard on him and kind of putting the light on his failures. I just sometimes do that because I think he could be so much better. He shot like 20 mid-range shots this year. I mean, if he's not shooting a layup,
right, the whole analytics is to shoot threes or that. But that's also their GM is Daryl Morey, who believes in that 100%. Personally, first of all, Chauncey Billups, another guy who he's like a Colorado legend. He's from Colorado, born and raised. So like he's up there. It's like John Elway, and he's around here, but he's up there in Colorado legends. So yeah, that's another guy who I would love to have. But Chauncey Billups, he wanted to be a head coach and all that. I've also heard he wants to be a GM. I've also heard that a bunch. And the Nuggets, I mean, Tim Connelly does a good job, so we don't have to worry about that. But they were talking about bringing him in back in the day. But I don't even know if it's a coach as much as the styles just won't work together. I think somehow, some way, they got to get someone to eat that contract somehow, some way. And I don't know. It's weird to say this because this seems super extreme, and I'm not usually, but they need to rethink something, and maybe you're not going to win a finals like this. You're just not. So what are you doing? Maybe it's time that you get rid. This is why I brought it up, because in my head, I've been thinking like maybe it's time to get rid of James Harden and Russell Westbrook and just start over.
I think you keep Harden, get rid of Westbrook.
Right. So if you keep Harden now, but it's really hard to get rid of Russell Westbrook's contract.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And if you get rid of Harden, you're back to square one because Harden goes in his MVP form of taking all of the shots. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is Russell Westbrook's not a good trade chip anymore. But here's what I think that they could do is somehow get Russell Westbrook to the Knicks, because the Knicks are itching for something like that. He'll like it because he likes fashion. He likes the limelight. I think it's just a match made in heaven. Just send him there, get some draft picks, call it a day. I think that's the Knicks. All they want is a little bit of buzz, no pun intended, but that's all they freaking want. That's all they want.
Hey, I'm over here in New York right
now.
You're
a Knicks fan.
I'm a Knicks fan. I'll give you my truthful thoughts on that.
You're not attracting a freaking free agent superstar because everyone hates James Dolan apparently. So
yes. So getting Russ for a pick or two, because we have so many, and maybe like Kevin Knox and a first round pick just for some excitement, I'm not too crazy about that.
Right.
Because Russ isn't that young anymore.
No,
and like you were
saying,
his bounce is not the same, not even close to what it was. He's not
he'll give you 30 here and there. There's no doubt about it. He's still good, but he's not Russ.
And it's not going to exactly translate to big-time winning. It might bring us to the 8th seed, and that'll just screw us out of another first-round pick. I think the Knicks just have to build. And for Westbrook, I don't know where he's going to end up. I could just see Houston being dumb enough to just keep him.
Yeah, well, because they're like best friends. James Harden, in my brain, without Russell Westbrook, he can win a championship Russell Westbrook is a player to me that will never, ever, ever win a championship.
They both won't. I'll go on record right now saying Harden won't either.
I guess you're not a Harden guy. I'm a Harden guy. I think he's amazing.
Again, I like him. He just needs to change up his style of play.
Yeah, he's so good though. My God,
he is, so but good. He has to look for the bucket, not the foul.
But again, also look at their team. Like PJ Tucker, I always say this, and like obviously I'm an idiot fan, but I feel like PJ Tucker got a million wide open. He calls himself a corner three specialist. The guy is not. If you're not shooting, like you should be shooting not 40. You should be shooting 60% because you are wide open. All these guys are wide open. So James Harden does make his teammates better because these guys get the most wide open looks out of any team. I've never seen something like this. James Harden, he puts so much pressure on the defense. These guys get wide open looks. You just fill it up with like legit amazing shooters. I think it's a different game. You got to get rid of Russell Westbrook, or he has to. Which again, I don't know if he'll ever become this guy. Which you just change. You're getting older. You have to just maybe change your role. You know, you might not have him for another 2 or 3 years, but he needs one day, come off a bench and he would be great. But he's not there yet. It's just, I don't know. I just never see it work. But that was my one off season I want to ask you, but because it's been bothering me, obviously, since all the coaches, because Mike D'Antoni left and all that. So, like, that is something that, I mean, obviously the Heat and the Lakers are still going on, but I think we all know what's going to happen in that series. It's not shocking to me what's going to happen if they win in 5 or 6. Like, that's for sure going to happen. But yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any more announcements to make?
Other than that, no. But
I'm pissed if you don't bring me on your podcast as just a great fan.
I got a gift for you. I'm gonna need your address and stuff. I got Inside Buzz t-shirt.
Appreciate that.
Could be found on InsideBuzz.net for everybody listening. Buy a t-shirt and sweatshirts are coming soon. So my man, send me over your address and your size, and I'll send one out to you as a thank you. Because the last time we spoke, the merch wasn't out yet. So
exactly. Well, I do want. I mean, again, I don't have the biggest following, but people listen to the podcast. I do want to say one thing so everybody can hear this. I have been doing this for about 4 months now, and I've met some people, whatever. You are listen. You have 100K followers, which is a lot on Instagram, and it's hard to do. You are by far one of the nicest people I've ever met on this journey, because there are some bad apples out there that think they're bigger than they are. You're a very nice guy, and I want people to know that.
Well, remember, my friend, 175,000 Instagram followers.
Oh, I said over 100K. That's all I said.
2.8 million on Facebook.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And
it hasn't hit your head yet. And
all I'm saying is, I just want to get the facts straight on the actual followers, just so people could check it out. But the truth to that is, I mean, in this field, who you deal with, I mean, I'm a kid myself. I'm 21. You deal with a lot of kids who haven't been in the game for a long time. I've been in the game since 2012, every single day since January 17th, 2012. On my phone every day reporting basketball news. I know how important connections are. I know how important doing this stuff is. And I understand how important it is to be nice and not burning bridges. Like, I'm not saying I'm being phony, but it's like, you help me and I help you so we could both grow, because that's what social media is.
Right.
And like me giving you this shirt, you're just helping me grow my brand.
I'm gonna wear that, baby.
You having me on your show is you helping me.
One day when I get apparel, you're getting the most dope. Right to your house. I also say, because a lot of people post a lot of things, giving saying help a person out today, or a nice thing that they post on their stories, but it's bullcrap. So you're a real one, and I appreciate that. And I want everyone to know Mikey Domagala is a nice guy.
I appreciate it. Actions are always better than words, my friend.
Hell yeah. That's what they say. All right. Well, Mikey, thank you for coming on. I'm sure I'll have you over again one day in like a few months, maybe mid off season when it's really brewing, and all your posts saying like, this guy maybe he's going there, maybe this guy's going there. So follow obviously Inside Buzz, official NBA Buzz on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you want anything news, that's where you want to be.
Yep. Yes, check it out. NBA Buzz on Facebook, at official NBA Buzz on Instagram and Twitter. Go on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify. I just got on Apple Music and Spotify this week. Check out Inside Buzz with Mikey Domagala there, and InsideBuzz.net for merch. And be ready for the Truth Podcast.
Absolutely. I'm actually excited for that. In December. Very good. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.